Ah, yes. Look at those awesome shoes, man. And someone else is looking at them, too. You stay away from my shoes. What's wrong with you? Coming to get you. I see you. I see you. Give me that. Oh, wait. Shit. Damn it. I thought that was the cat. Hey, it was the cat. And so, no, just to alleviate any concern, I'm not happy about this. I'd much rather be outside or have permission to be outside as opposed to having to show off some piece of mail that I got from work explains to a cop why I'm on the road. And playing racing games isn't the same. So, it's kind of annoying, but again, I have something that a lot of other people don't have. That's a really cool game collection that I'm going to get into. Oh yeah, the coronavirus is not something to mess with. It's not statewide, it's not countrywide, I mean it's worldwide. So it's something to be aware of and something to keep an eye on for sure. But you know what? I can't really keep an eye on it here in my basement. When they quarantine or have stay-at-home orders, you know, for essential people like me, who still have jobs and go to work and feed people and crap like that, fine. But the vast majority of us don't really have that. And I tell you what, it's pretty cool to just be able to have all these games behind me and to be allowed to play them whenever I pretty much want. So the funny thing is I picked 6 random titles, 2 from each major console I collect for. So 2 Genesis games, 2 Saturn games, 2 Dreamcast games. I grabbed Rayman and NBA Jam for the Saturn, Target Earth, and Biohazard Battle for the Genesis, and for the Dreamcast, Mach X and Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage. So we'll see a bit more about them here in a bit. But I got some new shelves, yeah. The collection has gotten a bit prettier. I decided to finally make a good home for all the Genesis Mega Drive stuff that still has room to grow. And, you know, a separate shelf for separate stuff, but mostly Sega, Saturn, and Dreamcast. But, yeah, this is the collection corner. And where it all goes down, but we'll save that for another time. Oh yeah, there's Target Earth, huh? Anyway, let's get started. Now, I gotta tell you, imagining, you know, putting myself in the mind frame of like an 11, 12, 13-year-old kid, and seeing this, I would have been blown away. I mean, beyond excited. Here I am seeing, you know, science fiction, big spaceships and battles and, you know, invasions from hostile alien civilizations and whatever you have. This is exactly the kind of thing I was aiming for at that age, and most definitely would have been into, you know, very, again, excited about, but I never really played it. This is not a game that I was exposed to in the early Genesis days, and in fact, never really touched this until about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. I know that I played the sequel beforehand, really. That was Assault Suit Lanos 2 for the Saturn. But, you know, playing this, I was a little bit let down and disappointed to find out that you know, it's pretty clunky, kind of slow, kind of heavy, which I imagine it should be considering the subject matter and, you know, the machine that you're controlling and whatnot. But, you know, hey, this is looked at as a collector's item as well. I mean, hey, Target Earth, cool, that's Assault Suit Lanos 1. And 2, by the way, never came out in America. You probably already know that, but I tried messing with this for about 25, 30 minutes, and I don't know what I was doing wrong, to be honest with you. I couldn't even get past the first stage. And I promise you, I'm a pretty good gamer. I'm a veteran retro gamer, so game over is a screen I saw a lot. All right, man, look. I've tried it with Target Earth. I'm not very good at it, and I don't feel like trying to be good at it right now. I'm not playing any more Target Earth right now. Let's move on to Biohazard. Lay down, dirty slice, just a great big baby. Alright, so moving on to Biohazard Battle. This game is actually rather ominous. I don't mean just for the title and in the current world state we're in, but a couple of things that struck me when looking at this. For instance, that little orange laser you've got flying around. You'll see it as this goes on. I didn't even think a weapon like that existed until like the 32-bit shooters. I don't recall ever seeing anything like it in 16-bit shooters, so that was kind of a neat surprise. It's got, you know, a good selection of weapons and power-ups. It's pretty varied. It kind of reminds me in a small way of Aero Blasters or Airbuster for the Sega Genesis and the TurboGrafx 16, respectively. For instance, some of the levels that are moving vertically as opposed to horizontally. There's also some levels that speed up, and they seem to offer obstacles in your way. In Aero Blasters, you actually had like a power-up you could get that would kind of pad you and guard you, whereas in this game, the only thing that'll kill you is either enemy fire or an enemy. You can pretty much bump into anything. You know, it looks like something that would destroy your ship, but it doesn't. This level in particular, it looks like you're supposed to avoid all that, you know, all those roads or bridges or whatever. They don't hurt you. But anyway, this, again, was a title that went under the radar. I was never really told about it. Nobody really shared it with me. And I'm kind of surprised about that, because I definitely would have been into something like this. Something kind of unique, something kind of dark, something almost kind of post-apocalyptic. Everything in the game looks like it would be something that, you know, would bite you or sting you, or you'd want to stay away from, microscopic, make you sick. So the design did a good job with that. Just potentially disturbing. I mean, biohazard battle, and that's what we're pretty much in the middle of right now anyway. And what's the target? Earth. So target Earth and biohazard battle. Accidents, as far as them having any relation to the coronavirus and what we're dealing with right now, but I guess they're still apropos in their own way. Creepy, right? Since there's no NBA season this year, I suppose I can still show some team spirit, right? I think so too. God, I haven't seen some of those faces in forever. Whew. Yes, NBA Jam. We all know about NBA Jam. Now, this came out at a time when pretty much anything that said Midway on it was going to get countless quarters placed inside of it. And, you know, also pretty much the last, superior era of the arcades, to where anything that was at the arcade, you definitely weren't going to get the same version at home. It was always going to be better in the arcades. And it was like another generation or two until that, stopped, basically when arcades went away. But NBA Jam, it was immensely popular. You would always find people hanging around it and playing it. And, it even offered a couple of popular phrases that, people still say today. He's on fire! Boom, shakalaka! People still say that. And NBA Jam was pretty much what made it really popular. Again, it's no sports simulator, nothing like that. It's just an arcade game, but it's a fun one. And, one that's worth owning and popping in from time to time just for a good laugh and good memories. Ubisoft. Well, that was a much different company in the early 90s. That I can promise you. Now, Rayman was an interesting title. I believe the first console it came out for was the Atari Jaguar. That 64-bit do-the-math contraption that was just wretched. Anyway, when you'd see screenshots of it, you were blown away. You're like, oh my god, look at that. What the hell is that? So it was still a good game on a bad console. It was ultimately released for the Saturn and the PlayStation, pretty much every major console, but you saw all kinds of titles back then in screenshots that just looked amazing and looked incredible, but the games were terrible. This was the first one that really offered the look and the gameplay of a 32-bit title. Nothing looked like this. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And the animation, the effort, the time that went into making it, you can tell it's all there. It's still there. This was not just another mascot, here we go, in pretty colors. This was actually a real, an investment. The guys that worked on this put a lot of talent and a lot of effort into it. It's got some interesting gameplay mechanics. It's got lots of humor and lots of fun. And once again, it's just drop dead gorgeous. It still looks amazing. And when this came out, seeing stuff like this was exactly what you hoped your 32-bit console was going to provide for you. A good two-dimensional platformer with artwork and colors that you would never dream of seeing on your Genesis or Super NES or 32X or Neo Geo, whatever you have. So I'm telling you, Rayman, it was a treat to kind of look back at and play again, because I'd forgotten how damn good this game is and just how just beautiful it is. So, wonderful discovery, or rediscovery rather. If you've got it, play it. And if you don't, it's cheap. Find it today, like right now. Alright, so 60 frames per second on your Dreamcast is always a fine treat. But what about good voice acting?
Is that thing really alive?
Well, we haven't implanted its psi yet. Its form is there, but its mind is empty.
Uh-huh. I know. Well, that's why we're giving it a mind.
Hey, hey, where's my mind at, man? Give me my mind back.
Thank you. Let's put that back where it belongs. Now, Mach X has been on the shelf for a long time, and if somebody were to ask me, hey, tell me about Mach X, I could tell you that it was a Dreamcast game that ran at 60 frames a second, and that's about it. I'd forgotten all about some of the thoughtful level design, and I like this in particular. It kind of gives you a sense of placement, sense of movement, heightened, sense of tension. It's pretty cool stuff. But again, 60 frames a second. Is it a good game? I don't know about all that. It's above average. It's not a bad game. And in fact, I was delighted when I popped it in and played this for a little while to see some of these effects. I had totally forgotten about some of the cool stuff the Dreamcast was pulling off. In fact, if I'd have actually seen this in, say, 99, 2000, I would have been very impressed. It would have definitely shown me what the Dreamcast was capable of doing. And I don't just mean all polygon counts. I just mean some of the lighting effects and the color effects and things of that nature. Those were delightful, and they were all new. Now your phone can, do 3 times as much. But for the day, it was impressive. It's just a run and slash, first-person shooter. But it's worth checking out and worth looking at again for sure. I had, forgotten all about everything but the frame rate. And popping this in for a little while and playing it, I'll admit, I had a good hour of fun. And check this out, man. Some of the stuff looks really good.
Well, that's another story.
Well, unfortunately, I just discovered that Sword of the Berserk doesn't work. Accidental rhyme, by the way. Most of my games work. You might have some cases in some weird shape, but the games work. Kind of surprised to discover this one does not. I have cleaned it. I've done everything I can to it. I've tested other games, and they work just fine. So it's not the console. It's just the game. It works for about a minute and a half, and then it just quits and kicks me back to the Dreamcast home screen. So there will be no Sword of the Berserk and Guts Rage showcased on this particular video. But if you are an owner of that game, be inspired. Make a video of it and send it to me or something. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Responsible over here be rocking the Hello Kitty mask. Yeah, some people are all anti-mask, but hey, man, to me it's just more opportunity to showcase my style. Hey, man, what's wrong with that? I don't think this Hello Kitty mask works with the beard. So that's right, lad. I don't wear a bloody mask around here. And if you're going to a place like CVS, which I'm currently doing, it's probably a good idea. I'm astonished I just realized this, but Hicks does kind of resemble the cat in the cover of Flicky, doesn't he? Well, come on, before I go back downstairs. There he is. Yeah, so anyway, you've seen these games before, most likely. If you haven't seen them in years and it brought a smile to your face or brought a good memory back, that's cool. If you got a stink face, then better made at the television than at another person. So once again, keep collecting, keep having fun, and don't order anything from Wuhan, China if you are collecting. Yeah, that's bad. At least avoid it for a minute.
Son of a bitch!
What?
Take it back!
What'd I say?
I can't waste any more time talking with you folks.